Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, what I wanted to say on this one is, first off, Peter, Jersey Knife guy, let me get his, I got his sticker up here somewhere. This guy, his birthday's coming up soon. And I haven't been able to get to the post office, but I'm going to send him a birthday present. And normally, you send somebody a birthday present, you don't tell them what it is, but I'm telling what it is in advance because I'm going to kind of explain the different picks and stuff that are in there and how to use them. So first off, happy birthday. And secondly, I'm not going to open it, but these are the tension ones and the picks in there. All this is coming to you. And some of these locks, not all of them, not all of these, because some of these are going to be an example, of how to use the different picks. Now, what you get on there is 3 different sets of, these are different widths of tension wrenches. And then these are they're the same thing, 3 different sizes and thickness. And the sizes and thickness is because of the keyway. How wide is this part down here? Or actually, where the pins are at. And the bottom is where you're going to stick these most of the time, is bottom of the keyway. So it'll be down here where the pins are up on top. And that's what the tension wrenches, those are what apply tension. The picks do not. You do not use them like a key and put them in and twist them. These are going to be up and down or raking, but you don't twist these. And also remember, these things, eventually they're going to break. Picks break. That's what happens, because especially when you're learning, you bend. You're going to bend them. You're going to twist them and everything. But it doesn't take much. These are only, let's get it here and it describes it better, because I was going to show you. It says right here, the Tuxedo set by Sparrows is designed to be your everyday carry set. Now, when they say everyday carry, you're going to have to check your local laws, because Texas is different than any other place. And usually it's okay for you to do this stuff at home, but if you're carrying it and you get caught in some other places, it's considered burglary tools, even though you're not a burglar. Usually, if I ever was caught with them and there was any question about it, I'd just point to my YouTube channel, because I had a YouTube channel on lockpicking, and I said, look, man, it's a sport. It's not a crime. What we're doing is not a crime. But anyways, here we go. So, this set includes 7 carefully selected picks that will open a wide variety. I got to look through it through the screen here to make sure everybody can see it. Open a wide variety of locks, from standard front door locks to high security locks. Each pick has a smooth finish to help with lock manipulation and feedback. The set also includes one special 15,000th thin pick for narrow or full keyway picking. Those really bend easy, and you gotta be careful with those. The Tuxedo set also includes 6 tension wrenches of varying widths, allowing for perfect control over the lock core. This set is designed for professionals who want a lockpick set with minimal bulk while being able to open a wide range of locks. Available in either Coyote case or Egan Coyote, or blacked out case. Alright, you can get a cutaway lock, but you're not going to get that. Alright, what does it? Get back up here where we can read you. The set includes one best, but there's a fly in here. Damn it, I hear me. It's a big one too. Distractions. One Best Buster snake rake. All these picks have a different name for their profiles and stuff, So this is a snake rake. There's a triple rake. I'll show you which one each one is. A small half diamond rake, an offset hybrid, a short hook. A hook is what you use most of the time for picking. City rake, a short hook, tension wrenches, a case, and all this other stuff. And then it goes to describe what the Best Buster is. The Best Buster, not Best Bustered, Best Buster. They call that because there's a group of locks called Best Locks. Can you read that? Because I sure can't. Somebody got to focus. Get the camera to focus. The Best Buster is an altered profile similar to the traditional snake rake. This rake is effective on many lock types, but is specifically designed for shallow, sweeping key bittings like those found on Best, Arrow, and Falcon locks. The Triple Peak. We call these Bogotas and stuff a lot of times because one guy designed it and he figured out the spacing of these little humps. And man, that thing does. It's amazing what it'll open. Is used on the withdrawal stroke as one of the most effective rakes available. It differs from traditional rakes in the way it functions by using a ramping effect similar to bumping. Now what they're talking about, this is just like a zip they're pulling out. There's different techniques. There's all the different kinds. There's one you rock up and down. There's other ones you get up there to the last pin and you go vroom. And what you're doing is, as you're applying tension to the core, because of the tolerance of the lock and everything, it's one pin is going to be binding. So when you're single pin picking, what we're doing is we're going in and we're applying a little bit of tension to the core. We're not torquing the crap out of it, not bending the the tension wrench. Usually less than the amount that you would turn a key, with everything lined up. But you're putting that amount of pressure on there, and you go through and you're feeling the first pin. Is it moving back and forth with no resistance? Then that's not the one that's binding. And you go through. There's one pin in there that's stuck, and you go through and you try to feel it. And when you find it, it feels kind of stuck. So you start pushing up on that. And when you hit what's called the shear line, it'll move. It won't open the lock, but it'll move just enough, just turn just slightly, that you basically have set that pin. Or if it's got security pin, stuff on it. None of these have security pins on it, by the way. If it had something like serrations on the security pin, you would still feel a little click and a little bit of movement, but you haven't reached the shear line, where it's actually cut. But then you go, usually you feel it if it feels like it's set. That's another thing that you're just gonna have to. It's hard to describe, but you're just gonna have to develop, after a while. But you go to the next pin, and like this is a really shallow one, so it would be difficult if a pin was set way down here, and the next one you got to set is way up here. You don't have a lot of room to maneuver in here. And if you bump this one that's already set, you get a condition what's called overset. Now, instead of the driver pin that was up there, like this is a shear line of a lock where everything lines up and it opens. And you got springs and pins on the top, which are called driver pins. And then springs and, no springs, but pins on the bottom called key pins. And when those two cutouts, they're cut at various lengths. When those line up just right, the lock will turn. It won't turn if there's something sticking up or down. So when you overset a pin, now that driver pin will no longer come back down because it's binding. It's keeping everything out of the way, and it can get complicated. But like I said, single pin picking is one of the hardest ways to do it. But you can also do other methods. Like you don't have to know all this to pick a lock. All right, so let's get past that. Small diamond, offset hybrid, standard short hook. It's first go-to pick and offset. This is more versatile and used more than any other pick. It's designed to let the picker feel the intricacies of the lock and manipulate the pins individually. When this pick is used in a raking type technique, it's also possible to work several pins at the same time. So when somebody's bumping it, or when you're doing a raking, what you're doing is the inertia of you pulling this stuff up allows some of these pins to reach the shear line. And if you're doing the tension just right, it's kind of like magic, you just go brrr. I'll show you it on some of these locks. But I want to describe this first, and then I wanted to demonstrate on the locks that I'm sending to him, some of them don't have keys, and he might think, that lock is defective, it doesn't work. So he can go back and he can look at the video and he can say, no, well, it does, it can work that way. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. And I just wanted to say, you know, on some locks like this huge one, you might be intimidated and say, wow, that's a big lock. I don't think I could pick it. It usually has the exact same mechanism inside of it. It's just on a bigger housing, you know. So, like I said, once you learn this stuff, it's kind of like riding a bicycle. You'll always have it in your memory, even if you don't have the tools. You can improvise a lot of the stuff. You can make these picks. I'll show you some. If I can find it out here. There's a pick that I just made a lot of picks myself. I just took windshield wiper inserts, and then you can take popsicle sticks on either side, and then heat shrink and do that. You know, this is not one of them, but anyways, so I just wanted to say, there you go. This is coming to you in the next video, because I don't want to. I'm going to break these down to just like 10-15 minutes. On the next video, I'm going to show you. See, I knew about this stuff a long time ago. I bought this book right after it came out, like 1976. But it shows you basically. This is not going to be included. I was just going to get in here. You know, talking about the shear line and the pins and everything. So you don't have to know all this to pick a lock. But if you do know this, it's better if you know what's going on. And when you're single pin picking, see these different cut. This is called a bitting of a key. You can look at a key and realize that, hey, I have to push this pin this far up before it'll reach the shear line, you know. See these different cutouts up there? Anyway, like I said, you don't have to know all that to be able to pick a lock. And the reason why I say this is, start off minimal and everything. Don't buy a big set. Don't buy a bunch of expensive stuff. Just like get a basic set. You usually already have some locks available, you know, for you to try. And if you pick a lock, if you sit there and open up a lock with a pick, I'm going to try to do one of these before we close here. Most of these guys don't have enough. Here's a little hook. And I got to get a tension wrench. My kingdom for a tension wrench. I mean, these are different. They don't include these in there. But when you start getting more advanced, there's some top of the keyway tension wrenches. Because normally you're putting it here in the bottom. Sometimes you put it up here to give your pick more room to manipulate. When you've got it in the bottom of the keyway, you don't have much room to pick the pins. But on Chinese locks and master locks, you usually don't have to worry about that. I'm going to put this guy. I think he's too thin. See, I'm putting this one in here, and he's too thin. Let me get a bottom of the keyway tension wrench. Let me pause this. It's already taken too much time. All right, here's one. This is just stick this guy in here. And see what I mean about it taking up a lot of room? But picks are so thin that usually you still got room to get in there. And man, I'm gonna have to go find that one later. But anyways, you apply a little tension there. You gotta watch that you're not, you know, bumping into this, because the lock will never open if you hit this. Stick it in there. You stick your pick in. You'll have to get past different pins, and then you just are moving up and down. You'll get these different clicks sometimes. I haven't picked in a while. I don't know if this is necessarily the right pick or tension wrench for that. I mean, pick for this one. Let me try something different. That's too big. Try the smaller one here. I'm used to picking from top of the keyway. Oh, there we go. Got something. I got some movement. Did I open it? No. Sometimes, like I said, when you're talking about overpicking everything, you just have to release it, let everything come back, and start all over again. You know, because you've overset that pin, and the only way for it to come back down is for you to release some tension. Just a little bit. If you do it just right, you can release it and still continue. But sometimes it's better to just release everything and just start all over again. All right, this wasn't a good example to use. There we go. So if you look here, pin 1 had to be down this low. This one had to be this low. And it's this last one you got to push up. So if he's the first one to set, then you got to set him first and come back. Anyway, you don't have to know all that, you know. Like I said, when you've got this in here and you've got to pick, I'm going to include the key with that one because I've got a key with it. Most of them I bought the locks. I didn't care if I had a key or not. There we go. So I'm applying a little tension on it. I got a spotlight on my hat. So I'm gonna illuminate the core here, and I just go through, just kind of going up and down, and boom. It can be that fast. All right, so, and we got master lock right here. Master lock, right? So that's single pin picking. Another method, I don't know if this one is going to work on it, is called like zipping. You just get up there and you're like, It's kind of kinetic. I don't know if this is a zippable one. You try different things. You try different picks. You try different methods. I'm going to get a bow guitar or a snake rake out. And in the same way I carry more knives than I usually need. I usually carried more picks than I would ever need. But here's a kind of like this ripple effect. This is like a bow guitar. This is more like what you're going to get in the kit with the triple rig. But this one's really thin, I can tell. It's marked on there, 15 thousandths. You don't want to use those on when you're first learning and everything, and especially on a master lock. This one's 15 thousandths too. Wish I was more organized. You should be more organized. All right, let me pause this. It's just gobbling up time. All right, here's one. This is more what they call like a worm because it's more gradual. But you can go this way or you can try it this way. And the beauty of these is you don't have to go feel where each pin is, where you're at, you know, in the stack and everything. How the lock operates and everything. Just get a little bit of a technique down. And let me lock it up. A little bit of a technique down, and then on this one, you gotta watch out that you don't break it, but it's more of a kind of a up and down motion sometimes, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes you go in and out. This is what they call like raking. You're going back and forth, in and out. And if it doesn't work, you know, you try something else. Usually a different pick or a different method. See, like that one's not going to rake. Let's see if we can find one that's going to rake open. Here's a master lock, number 3, I think. These guys only got 4 pins in them. No security pins. He's not raking either. Maybe this big old guy here will like to rake. I'll just edit this to save your time, speed everything up so I sound like a chipmunk. Got hung up on something there. There we go. See? It was just kind of like, you see, I didn't even pull it out. It was just kind of like, and you get it just right, and boom. So I'm going to give you this big old lock, too. It's Brinks. No key for it. But with your tools that you have in there, you should be able to open these locks. Like I said, you can try a variety of things. Now, the difference between a Master Lock commercial and a regular one is a commercial just has this like key limiter, type of thing. That's it. It's that, and it's got like a rubber bumper over here in the top. But it's basically the same lock as, see, it's a Master Lock number 3. I did find a clear lock. I've got one. So this will help explain things a lot better. So you see you got your pins up here. These are the springs, and these are the pins. Now this last one just looks like all the rest of them, but all it is a core limiter. It's preventing the core from turning too far. These are the actual pins, and down here are the key pins. So see, when I push, let's see if we can get any closer. When I push this pin up, you see that split? That's the shear line. That pin's got to be like right there. So let's get a tension wrench in here. Alright, so I want a tension wrench that's going to go on the bottom of the keyway, and see that? Just torque it just a little bit. Then you're going to rest your hand on here. This is why I usually pick padlocks, because it's something fairly easy to get to. And then I'm going to stick a pick in. This one may be too shallow, but we'll see. But I'm going to stick a pick in, and I'm going to push on this pin right here, and it's springy. So I'm going to go to, let me try to do this so you guys can see it. See, if you look at that one, it's actually overset, but we're not worried about this right now. We're just going to go through and push up on the different pins and try to find the one that's binding. This guy's not deep enough. we use a little wormy guy, so we don't have to look. So as you can see, the worm or the triple rake, it's kind of like a slot machine, He's just bouncing around, and then boom, he opens. You don't have to know all that stuff. You don't have to know which pin is binding. When you're single pin picking, you get a better idea of what's going on with the function of a lock. With this, it's relying on the randomness, just something randomly going over there. And if you get your tension just right, that's going to be the hardest thing to figure out, is the tension, because you're going to have a tendency to want to push too hard on it, but it can be that fast. Now, don't get overconfident with these, because these are some of the easiest locks in the world to pick. And this acrylic will eventually start cracking or breaking. It'll get scratched. Sometimes where you can't see it as well. If you're careful, you can get rid of the scratches with a butane lighter. But remember, this is acrylic. So I'm going to include that with it. So there you go. There, we won't have to go through all the different techniques. You can just start learning them yourself. Just trying different things, Like, all right, the way I did it was, all right, that was fun. Now, let me try a different method, It's too easy doing it that way. Let me try single pin picking. And this is kind of cheating, but you can look in here and you can see. How does it feel when a pin is set? What does it feel like as opposed to not set? And which picks work better for you? Is this too thin? Does it not lift them up enough? Does it fall off? It's just, oh man, you can get, it's like knives, you know. You can get immersed into stuff, you know. You can get specialized. But that one was just kind of like raking. Wasn't even looking. Usually what I would do, I would just sit there and I wouldn't even be looking at the lock a lot of times. I'd just have a tension on it and I'd be watching TV. And in my head, I'm feeling where all these pins are and everything, you know, feeling everything different. And a lot of times I'm just going up and down, up and down. Remember, never twisting. This is where your twisting's coming from, is your tension wrench. But you just go up and down, up and down. And if you want to look, you know, you get up close and you look at them and see what's going on. And in this case, we've got an overset. So the only way to fix an overset is to ease it. See that? And you can hear the pins falling back. You ease up tension. If you do it just right, only the guy that was overset falls back. But if you do it wrong, they all fall back. Well, you just start over again. I'll make sure I'm hitting pin 1. Because pin 1's the first one in, a lot of times you'll overset him because you'll obstruct him. Going back in there trying to get stuff done. These are pretty good, like I said, to learn. See, we've got an overset on pin 2. And no matter what I do back here, this lock is not going to open because that guy's got to come back down. There we go. So yeah, it's something that it's a good skill to know, because you never know when, you know. It's not recommended you practice on anything that you need, like your car or your house or your toolbox or anything like that. But if you do break, you know, not break the key, although you can learn how to extract keys, but if you do lose the key, or your key's no longer working to your toolbox and it's your toolbox, well, then you can pick it, you know. If you screw up, you can call a locksmith, but usually don't tell the locksmith that you tried to pick it, because they'll charge you more, because you're basically taking their job away from them and you screwed it up. You usually make it worse for them. So you're just better off just telling them, I don't know, I can't find a key for it. Anyway, I'm rambling on too much. But yeah, clear locks, acrylic locks, they're pretty easy to pick most of the time. But it does help give you an idea of what you've got going on. See, these springs right here are lugs, and a lot of times you can bypass the lock just by going in here with things called shims. I don't know if I got one out. I don't think I got a shimmy shim, but it's got, each one is set to the different diameter lock, and some lock can be shim where you just put it in there and you turn, and it basically pulls these lugs back. That's why when you're doing a bypass, sometimes you're going all the way past these up here, and you're grabbing this thing with a pick and you're pulling it back. And if it's double locking, you can do it like the way a lock is. You can apply some tension up here and go up and pull one until it clicks, and you'll feel it, the shackle move a little bit. And then you go over and you get the other one and you pull it, and pink, you can open it up. You don't have to pick it all. If the lock manufacturer knows what he's doing, it's going to be what's called shielded. And that is, there's going to be a brass plate or something up here that will physically obstruct your pick from going that way. But anyway, you'd be surprised how many reputable locks have a very easy way past them, like what I showed before with like comb picks. You know, it just goes in and just lines up, and bing. If that one you do turn, you do apply tension on a comb pick. But anyway, there you go. So all I got to do is make it down to the post office, and mail the package off, and then eventually it'll get to you. But there's some, I would, when the Sparrows has, when you get that basic set, pick set, sometimes they offer, you know, they've got also the option of a clear lockpick set. I'd recommend if you're beginning that you get that, because it is helpful, you know, to, otherwise you have no idea what's going on inside. And what I did later on was I took apart locks. I found out what was going on inside every, you know, lock that I was curious about. These are set up the same way, but there's little brass plugs that were put in on the driver pins, and then it was ground down, so a lot of times you can't even see where it's at, but it's up here. Wherever these pins are, there's little caps. So what I would do is grind these guys off and then pull them out, you know, and see what kind of pins were in there and stuff. You can take the whole lock apart. There's other little pin. There's usually a pin down here that helps hold the core in. Yeah, like I said, you can get pretty deep into stuff. It's just another hobby. It's just something to do. Like if you're in a long line, or you have to wait for something, or you're just waiting around. If you got just a lock and a set of picks, you can entertain yourself. It doesn't require any electricity, no internet connection. And you want to know more? Like I said, check out the lockpicking channels. And there's people still into it. Helpful Lockpicker, he's very good. He just sits there and goes through and gives lessons on each different step, you know, like this is what an overset is. This is how to, you know, single pin pick, and this is how to rake, and this is how to do this, you know. So anyway, there you go. I've talked too long. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.